Hands up if for years and years you've been looking for the perfect planning routine and you've bought multiple planners, and some of them didn't have enough space for you to write stuff, and some of them had sections you didn't need, and some of them you didn't even start because you were scared to spoil them, and ultimately you've just been looking for systems and systems and systems and nothing really worked. That was me for such a long time until I refined my own planning routine that finally works as a busy mum of 4 who works and also has ADHD, and ultimately, like many of us, just has a lot to juggle. And I just finally feel this wave of relief that I've got a system that works for me and doesn't feel like a huge chore and a huge effort, and it's actually making my life work with ease and flow. In today's video, I'm going to share how you can do that too. If you're new around here, hello! My name is Rhiannon Morgan. Everyone calls me Rhi. There are loads of videos on this channel about organising and planning and decluttering, as well as vlogs and all that kind of good stuff. Like I said, I searched for a really long time for the right planner, and ultimately I made my own to suit my needs. And then I tweaked it, and the version that I'm currently loving and that's currently working for my life is this, which is the Organised Life and Gratitude Planner. And I'm going to show you exactly why this works for me. If you want to grab your own copy of this, by the way, I'll put all the details below. I mean, you can just grab a pen and paper. If you're one of those really artistic people that I am not, you can do it. It's like a bullet journaling. You just write out all the things. Sadly, I'm not artistic enough for that, so I have got this, and honestly, it is a game changer. It will flip and change your life. You can get it in the version that you can print out or fill in on a tablet, or you can get one of these printed book copies. The first thing I do in my weekend reset is actually go to my digital calendar. While I absolutely live by my planner and could no longer function without it, for longer term and recurring things, they're stored in the digital calendar. For our family, our digital calendar is just the Apple calendars, and they synchronize with all our devices. I've got some calendars that belong to me, things I need to know or see, things for my work, and then I've got family things. So anytime we all need to know about something as a family, if one of the children has an activity, if the groceries are being delivered at a certain time, we've got to be here, all of that goes in the family calendar. Obviously, the benefit of having an electronic calendar is you can put things in for months or years in advance, like when the dentist is what you're doing next July, and you're like, I don't know, but I'll put it in my calendar. And all of those things are there. We've actually got that calendar synchronized with the school calendars too, so that when the school add things to their calendars, they pop up on our phones. What I actually do each week during the weekend reset is decode this into my week at a glance. And you may think, is this step really necessary, Rhi? And maybe it isn't for everyone, but for me, this helps my brain process not just what's coming up, but what do I need to do in order to facilitate all the things coming up going well. So put each family member along the top, and then obviously we've got the days of the week down the side, and I would put the numbers so I know which date the day is down the side too, and like the week commencing. A brief overview of what any given family member may have on for that day. For example, if Bella has a school trip on Tuesday, I know she's going to need a packed lunch, and that's something I actually have to do because normally I have school dinners for that day. So maybe I need to make sure I've got certain things in stock. Maybe I need to make sure she's got wellies for the school trip. Whatever needs to be done, by writing things in this week at a glance, I know what I'm faced with in the upcoming week so that I can actually be prepared for it by planning for it. The things that go in here would be rough overviews, appointments, if there's a disco, swimming lesson, anything like that, it's all in there. From there, the week at a glance, where I can see roughly what everyone's got going on, we go to the meal plan. For the meal plan, I use this planner obviously, but I also have an organization station going on in my kitchen. And that is just a set of 4 boards in the kitchen, which are a central place for family members to see what is going on and to know about what's going on in the meal plan and what we're running out of. I've got some completely free printables that you can grab and download, along with links to everything I use for the frames and the pens and things to set up your kitchen organization station for your own family. I'm telling you, it's been an absolute game changer. I'll explain why in a little second. But if you want to grab those, just go to mummyof4.com/organization station and I will send them to your inbox. The key thing for meal planning for the organisation station, I mean, we will put the meal plan when it's done and when it's finished onto there for next week, but I've got a shopping list. And the reason I've got this in this central place in the kitchen is because so often my family would just fire things at me. Mum, we're out of this. Mum, we're out of toothpaste. Mum, we're out of ketchup. And they just fire it at me, and then I would be expected to hold that information in my brain, regardless of what I was doing, whether they shouted it at me from another floor or another room. And whichever family member it was that had told me considered their job done. They did not need to mention it again. To get round this and to stop me having to instantly stop what I'm doing whenever anyone shouted anything at me and write it down or put it straight in a list, we've got a centralised shopping list. Anyone can add stuff to that. Anything that they need, they can add it on the shopping list so that when I go to do this meal plan and the grocery shopping, it's all in one place. The way I do the meal plan, first of all, I go through the ingredients to use. This will be just having a quick look through the fridge and the freezer and the cupboards to see, okay, what have I got that maybe we've got more of them than we need, or something's about to go off, or short date, or whatever. And that stuff just needs to be used up on the next week's meal plan. Then I would go to the week at a glance and be like, okay, so which nights are we here and everyone's home and I've got a bit more time to cook, and which nights are we just, okay, it's got to be a quick tea, or which nights has it got to be a meal that can be served in stages. Some meals really do well if they're eaten at the time of cooking and you just serve it and eat it immediately. Other things can be eaten, one of you could eat it at 4 and one of you could eat it at 5 and you could leave it in the oven, like a pasta bake or lasagna or something, may lend itself more to one of those nights where people are eating in stages and it's all staggered and people are in and out from activities. By looking at my week at a glance, I can then go to my meal plan. So my meal plan is based on the ingredients I've got to use, plus what we've got going on and who's where when. And then my shopping list is the things that are missing from the meal plan, the ingredients I need to make those things that we do not already have, plus the list of things on my organisation station shopping list that have been put there by my family. What I tend to do is copy those onto my planner, and that way when I'm sitting doing my grocery order, which I do as part of my weekend reset, then I know I'm adding everything to the list that we actually need based on what we need in the meal plan and based on what's on that list in the kitchen. Incidentally, I do not do supermarket shopping in person. I have tried it on and off every now and again, but we do not live super close to a supermarket. My children tend to like, as they have autism, to eat the same things all the time. And if I buy things that deviate from that, people get really upset. And ultimately, I'm self-employed, so my time is better spent working or being with my children than it is in the supermarket. So if you totally love the supermarket and you totally love going and it's something that you really get a buzz out of, by all means keep doing it. But for everyone else, for the cost of a delivery, we've recently switched to having a grocery delivery thing. I think it's costing £7 a month. I would spend way more than that in fuel just driving back and forth, and definitely more in time off from work physically going to the supermarket. So if you are not doing a grocery order as part of your weekend reset, please start giving it a try. I promise you it'll change the game. What I actually do is book all the slots for the coming month every weekend. So I can book them, I think, 4 weeks in advance, and then every weekend I would book the next available one for that 4 weeks time, so I know I've always got those slots. Then we get on to the Eisenhower matrix, so named apparently because it was invented by President Eisenhower, apparently. It is a very simple but very effective way of prioritizing your to-do list. You put important and not important at the top, or you just fill it in on the planner if you've got the planner, and then urgent and not urgent. And if something is both important and urgent, it goes here. If it's urgent, but I sometimes like to think of it as not taxing rather than not important, it goes here. So you can substitute not important for not taxing. If you think of something like you've got to buy a birthday card, you don't want to say that's not important because you're buying it for someone you care about. It feels mean to say it's not important, but it's definitely not a taxing thing to do, so that would go over here. While we are doing this weekend reset and I'm doing this prioritizing for the week, I actually like to go back over previous notes from the week prior. We will get to this, but every day in the planner is a 2-page spread. So we've got the 30-minute time blocks, we've got the today's priorities, which we'll come to in a second, and the to-dos today. Now, as I'm working, if I think, oh my goodness, I need to do a thing, I will add it to my to-do list. I've got to add something to the grocery list that I've forgotten, or order something from Amazon that the children need from school because they've run out of a certain pen, or fill in some form for school, whatever. I'll just pop it on the to-do list. But then I've got this notes section, and this, honestly, I can't tell you how much has changed the game. You could also think of this as a brain dump, which is actually how I think of it now, or an ADHD side quest section. And I have my pages, my day spread pages open whenever I'm working. And whenever something comes to my mind, I have to fight the urge not to just go and do it, especially if I'm doing something boring. If I'm doing something boring I don't really want to do, for me that's SEO work, fiddling with tags and keywords for videos. So boring, can't even tell you, but it needs to be done, otherwise YouTube doesn't show you videos to anyone. So if I'm doing that, it's funny how many interesting, exciting other things my brain could think of me to do. Pretty much anything seems exciting at that stage. Organising something, taking out a drawer and sorting it, redesigning my website, anything. But what I have to force myself to do is, rather than go and do that thing in the moment, which is what my brain wants me to do, I just jot it down. Jot it down of, hey, these are the ideas of things that, hey, I could organise this thing, or hey, I've had this great idea for reading, signing my website, or for a video, or whatever. It means that I don't stop what I'm doing, what I should be doing, what I'm supposed to be doing, and go and do this other fun thing right now. It's just a place to brain dump all these ideas. So while I'm doing this week's priorities, then I go back through my brain dumps and I go back through my to-dos from the previous week to see which out of the to-dos didn't get done. I go back to the previous week's Eisenhower matrix and see what of this didn't get done. Hopefully I got through all the urgent and important stuff, because that's the kind of the stuff that needs to happen this week. But maybe there's some important but not urgent stuff from last week that needs to go into has to happen this week. By looking back over my planner and having all this in one place, it makes it so easy to keep things top of mind that actually need doing and take action steps to make them happen. To support the brain dump pages inside of my planner, I also have one note every week, which I pin to the top of my notes inside of my phone. And I talked about this inside of my video where I was talking all about my additional productivity hacks that I use using my phone to support my planner. But this specific one really works hand in hand with my planner, and it's an extension of this brain dump section. And the note is literally called Brain Dump Week Commencing whatever the date is. And then I have a section for each day, and I just brain dump anything that comes to mind that I don't want to forget. And that is what I do if I'm not physically with my planner. So if I'm in the house, chances are I will just write it down in my planner. But if I am on the school run or just at a different corner of the house and not actually in my office, I will write those brain dumps into that note in my phone. And I find that it just really helps me to not lose those ideas. The times I don't do this, I really kick myself. For example, I know about a week ago in the shower, I had the most amazing idea for something to do with work. But because I did not immediately get out of the shower and write it down, either in my phone or a planner or somewhere, it's gone. I don't know what it was. I know it was good. I'm hoping it'll come back to me at some point. But for now, it's gone and nowhere to be found. I know ultimately you can write things on post-its or notebooks or wherever, but if you haven't got one central place to keep all of your notes and ideas, or two central places, then okay, I'll give you two. One paper planner and one in your phone. You'll find that if you're anything like me, you'll have so many jotted down notes all over the place that ultimately they're all useless. You can't find them anyway. You'll have a post-it over here and a crumpled up something in your handbag, and a lot of different notes within your phone, or lots of different notebooks. That's a classic one I've done so many times. I've got so many different notebooks that I don't know where I've written something, and then ultimately I still can't find it. By having one brain dump in your planner, one brain dump in your phone, and doing this weekend reset routine, your planning routine of going back through those two places. We can all manage to look through two places. Looking through all the places in our whole house for all the places we've written notes, not so easy, but we can all manage to look through our planner and that one note in our phones to see what needs to be actioned and put into the next week's plan. Once we have established what is important and what is urgent and then what still needs doing but isn't as important. So we've got our important tasks, our less taxing but still urgent tasks. We need to think about actually putting these into our diaries, which is where the next page comes in handy. For each day, I like to pick 3 top priorities. These are non-negotiable things that I really want to action and move forward on that day. Now, these are not to be confused with to-dos, as in to-dos in my mind are smaller things. For example, if you look at this video, one of the to-dos would be set up the camera. One of the to-dos would be write out some notes about what I want to say in the video. Another to-do would be film the video. You get the picture. One of these priorities wouldn't be set up the camera, it would be film the video. That is the overall priority, the project for the day. And then that would be broken down into those smaller to-do things like film the video, transfer the footage onto my computer. Those are the to-dos. These 3 top priorities per day are 3 big-ish, chunky-ish projects, but still something that's not so massive that you can fit 3 of them into a day. Let me know in the comments if you can think of the kind of things that might look like in your life. Maybe one of the things would be clean the bathroom. Or one of the things might be sort out all my work emails and clear my inbox. But 3 main priorities, whatever those might be. And for me, it might be film a video, edit a video, and then work on a new product for my online planner store, for example. So once we've got all of that week planned out, and bear in mind, as I'm doing my most important task for the week, I'm also looking at what we've got on. If halfway through the day I'm going to have to go to do share my work day in the middle of the day, then obviously I'm going to have to take that into consideration when I'm planning out my tasks and my priorities for each day. And then for every single day I have a planner spread that looks like this. We've got 30-minute increments, and I've tried doing the hour time block things, but ultimately you can get quite a lot done in 30 minutes. Some things only take 30 minutes, some things take an hour and a half. 30 minutes seemed to be the sweet spot working for me. Each day I copy the today's priorities in, and yes, this is repetition, but it's just cementing into my brain what needs to be done. This bit of the planning routine I tweak slightly depending on what I've got going on in my life. In an ideal world, at the end of the work day, I would look at the day and how it has gone, and then write out for the next day what the top priorities are going to be. But sometimes this is a first thing in the morning exercise. Either way, whether I'm writing it in first thing in the morning or just reading what I wrote the day before first thing in the morning, one of the first things I do first thing in the morning is look at, right, what have I got on today? What is my day looking like? What specifically have we got going on at which times? Who's doing the school run? Is it me or my husband? Who's got swimming? Who's got dancing? And then by plugging these things into my 30-minute blocks, I can see the gaps I've got in the middle to fill with my work task or whatever else I need to get done to fit in around these things that can't be moved, like picking up the children. Then we take today's priorities and we break them into to-dos. Taking the example of this video again, if one of my priorities is to film the video, then maybe the to-dos are to get it scripted, transfer the footage, make a thumbnail, all the different things. And then from here, I time block when I'm planning to do each thing. Time blocking is slightly different from tasks because maybe I have a time block that is just admin, and that would be generally towards the end of the day. I try and put the things where I need more brain power earlier on in the day. Think about the eat the frog method. If you have to eat a frog, you're better off doing it as early in the day as possible. Otherwise, you're just dreading this frog you potentially have to eat for the whole day. And if you have 2 frogs to eat, you should eat the slimiest, nastiest, grossest one first and get it over and done with. And I very much feel that by kind of biting the bullet and doing the important stuff, the heavy lifting stuff, the more taxing stuff first, and then the easier, fluffier stuff later in the day, that kind of works for my brain. I block in things like filming videos earlier in the day, and then I'd maybe block in admin at the end of the day. Contact the school about filling in some form. I think I've got to pay for some trip for Will. Actually, that is something that is going on my list for today. Hang on. Incidentally, I use these little post-its to figure out which page I'm on to turn to it easily for today. Okay, pay, Will, trip. See what I did there? I wrote it down immediately. Otherwise, it would have gone from my mind and potentially never come back. What I personally tend to do is write things that are personal to-dos down the bottom, then I write work to-dos in the spaces at the top. Admin might be blocked out for an hour, but responding to an email that I need to chase up, making a phone call to chase something up, or paying for Will's school trip is not going to take an hour, even if I've got an hour blocked out, but maybe the selection of tasks I've got to do within that hour will actually take the hour. So we've got priorities. The 3 top priorities are the main overarching projects that I'm working on that day. I've then got time blocks of roughly when I'm going to do what. I used to get really stressed out about this, thinking, I don't know how long that's going to take. Ultimately, the thing that saved my sanity is erasable pens, because if everything you can just rub out and move around, you're not worried about ruining your planner. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but I used to worry about spoiling planners or spoiling notebooks and end up not using them at all, which I'm aware when I say it out loud sounds a bit mad. But erasable pens mean that you can move things around when life happens, but you can still see what's going on. Because if planners are really messy, for my mind at least, it's like I can't process it. And if things are neat and tidy, I just find it easier to read, understand what I'm supposed to be doing, and ultimately it just reduces me getting super overwhelmed. We've got time blocking, we've got tasks, and I also copy what's going to be on today's meal plan just to the bottom, just so I can see it. And then over the page, even though I actually leave it like that out flat on my desk, I've got the 10 things I am grateful for. Now, I use this, again, slightly differently depending on what my life's looking like. In an ideal world, I do this as an exercise first thing in the morning, so I can think of 10 things I'm grateful for. Sometimes I just do it before bed, and some of these things are things that I'm grateful for, as in I'm so grateful that this happened, or I received this, or something recovered from something, just normal gratitude stuff we're all familiar with. But sometimes I put things on here that are more like to-do list things. So what we have our to-do list. Sometimes I write things on my gratitude list that are, I'm really grateful I got this thing finished. I don't have to write I'm really grateful for every time. I just write got this done. And as long as you are feeling the gratitude for that, and as long as you're feeling like, yeah, I'm really proud I got that done, I'm so relieved I got that done, as long as it's bringing that feeling into your body, it doesn't really matter. The gratitude list, I can't tell you how much it elevates my mood, honestly. And ultimately what I'm learning as I get older is the more my mood and my energy are in alignment of being very positive, the more productive I am, which, let's face it, isn't that what we all want? We just want to be happier and more productive. And then we've got this note section, which, as we've discussed, is my ADHD brain dump section. And in here, sometimes there's very little written in here, sometimes it's quite neat, and sometimes it's random scrawls of all sorts of different things. Sometimes it's all notes about one thing, about one project, about one idea, spider diagrams. Sometimes it's jotted things that I'm having to decipher, like, what is that? Ultimately, pinning the thoughts down in this section has totally changed the game, because it means that I am not losing great ideas that I've had, because one of the bonus sides of ADHD is people with ADHD tend to be really creative, which I guess is why I'm noticing so many YouTubers that I watch, and I have for years, so many authors that I've read their books and I follow them, all seem to have been diagnosed with ADHD in the last few years. And I don't think it's a trend. I think they have ADHD because I think that a lot of people with ADHD are drawn to these creative professions because they are very creative. But the problem is, if you have all these creative ideas and you don't have anywhere to store them and to channel them and to help you be productive, then you cannot get your creative ideas out into the world. So now we're going to talk about a few things that are really going to help you to make this planning system actually stick and actually work. So the first one is get hold of a copy of the planner. I'll put the link down below. The next thing you're going to need to grab some little post-its. You don't have to do this, but I find it so much easier to be able to flip to the right page, and that way I've shoved it in my bag, I can open it up, it's just less faffy. I would grab yourself some erasable pens. Personally, I use a purple one for writing. Now, I just picked these colours because I like them and I think they're pretty, and I think if you're using things that you like and you're like, oh, I like these things, and nice stationery has always, since as long as I can remember, made me want to do more work and be more productive. Pick colours that you like, But I recently realized, or read somewhere, I don't know if it's true, but apparently things that you write in purple, you're more likely to manifest, apparently. But then I use this bright pink color as a ticking off or a circling, like a highlighting color. You can use other colors. Other colors are available, but I would highly suggest getting some erasable pens. I will link the ones that I use below. Some of the ways you're going to get this planning system to stick. First of all, keep your planner with you. I know it sounds obvious. Keep your planner with you and keep it open at the right day. My planner lives on my desk, open at the correct day, all the flipping time. That's where it lives, and then I can brain dump. As we mentioned earlier, to supplement this, set up a note on your phone entitled Brain Dump Week Commencing, whatever the date is, and pin it to the top of your notes. And if you are not in reaching distance of your planner, you are not able to get to your planner, for goodness sake, before those ideas float off, never to be seen again, write them down in your notes app on your phone if you can't get to your planner. And then when you get to do your weekend reset, go through the brain dump on your phone, go through your brain dump for your last week's planner notes, and then you know that you're actioning all the right things for the upcoming week. And the other thing I definitely recommend doing is blocking in some time on your calendar, so you can actually plan this in your planner on your Saturday, your Sunday, whichever day of the week you choose to do your weekend reset. I mean, you could do it on a Monday. You could be the first thing you do. I personally like to do it on the weekend so I can hit the ground running on a Monday. But you pick a day that works for you and do your week reset, if you want to call it a week reset rather than a weekend reset, on whichever day works for you. But block that into your calendar, put it in your digital calendar, put it in your planner, set reminders, have alarms going off so you do not forget to do it. Because ultimately, the weeks that I have not done this, and it's very rare that I've not done a full weekend reset, but the weeks where I've not done a full weekend reset, perhaps because we've been away for most of the weekend, I can't tell you how on the back foot I felt on the Monday and how long it took me to get going and how the week just felt a lot more clunky. Maybe things were missed off the grocery list. My to-do lists weren't as organised. My work wasn't as efficient the following week because I hadn't planned it out properly. So definitely before we do another weekend trip, I will be doing my weekend reset in full before we go. Now, there are other elements of the weekend reset other than my planner that we actually do with the whole family to make sure that we are prepared for the week ahead. And if you want to see all about those, then you can click on the video on screen now or hang out with me a little bit more in my Patreon. I will link this planner, which is going to change your flipping life, below, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye.